What's the greatest obstacle or challenge facing you on your path to becoming financially free? For most of us, it's the time it takes to even focus on it. We're so busy with our lives that we don't even know where to start. Come join Joey and I and the team in Nashville, Tennessee, August 9th through the 11th, as we break down the different ways that you can become financially free and introduce you to different strategies and speakers who can help you on that first step.
You have questions? This event is designed to give you the answers, to take action fast, to turn the decades it's taken us to learn this and turn them into days. Don't hesitate. Go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/live. And don't forget to use the promo code podcast to get a deep discount.
All right, gentlemen, this is going to be exciting for us to break this down because all of us are eyes. We love talking about anything, specifically what we're personally doing. So we're going to break this down into three different ways. One, what are the options I have as an eye? There's so many options, and really, this is going to be probably the hardest one for the three of us to get because there's no bad option, right? There's no option that we don't like. We think we can do all things. We're ultimate optimists. So I think there lies in point number two that we're going to need to cover is what are those things that are going to trip us up as we attempt to do all those things? And third, let's go through maybe some examples. Let's talk about ways that we can win, maybe some of those best practices that we've seen. All right, Stallion, I'm going to let you go first. Tell me, what is one of my options as an eye to have success in the investing world?
I'll give you the breakdown. Russ is only 50% right that I'm partially I, right? I'm an SI, but I love people. I love being around people. And I think that that's the part of me that really collaborates with this next idea is short-term rentals. I love the idea of providing a place for them to stay. I love for it to be really homey and inviting, and I love for people to think highly of something that we are providing. And short-term rentals does that. It's a hospitality business, which eyes are very hospitable people. And so I think on the outset, man, this is a great thing. Not to mention the fact that short-term rentals on average produce a lot more income than your standard long-term rental. And I think an eye has a tendency to lose focus if it's just this kind of, $200 or $300 a month per long-term rental. Like they kind of lose that. But with short-term rentals, you're getting sometimes $700-800 per room in net profit. And we've gone over that in our short-term rental course that we did years ago. But that to me is one of the top that an eye is going to be drawn to.
Well, I think short-term rental is something that you and I had a lot of success in. It's actually the first thing that we started talking about when we started publishing our passive income report 4 years ago. Jamie, how about for you? Give me an option for an eye.
Yeah, I'm going to give you an option, something that I'm really intrigued by, right? Trying to keep my blinders on, but this idea, this passive income opportunity just can't leave my mind, and that's land flipping, right? I work with a lot of clients from the land geek community who are out there flipping parcels of land. And one of the things that really excites me about it is the opportunity to connect with people, right? We talked about that, but also the massive returns these people are making. I mean, they're making 100, 200, 300% returns on their money, but I also know where some of the pitfalls are. And so that's an idea that I haven't quite gotten to because I've learned kind of who I am and what might be some of the pitfalls along the way. But flipping land's fun to talk about. A lot of people have no idea that you can go out there and buy vacant pieces of land, sell it on seller finance notes, and build passive income doing it, and great returns at that. And so land flipping is one of those ideas that I really need to figure out how to get into and who's going to help me do that.
Man, you guys don't leave me a whole lot of meat on the bone because the two favorite things I've done to this point are land investing and short-term rentals, right? Our buddy Mark Podolsky at the Land Geek is teaching people how to do that thing very well. We've built a course on how to run short-term rentals. And here's the thing about me. Like, I don't know if it's just me or if it's, you would feel this too as an eye. Maybe it's confidence, but the thing that I love is the ability to influence the outcome of events, right? When I can be involved in the influence, that gives me comfort, confidence, and I think it gives me coin in my pocket. So one of the ideas that I have that I think maybe you're sitting there and you're saying, well, maybe I don't have the money or maybe I don't have the opportunity yet to do the land flipping or short-term rental. Maybe what you have is just the influence. Maybe you've been out on social media, you've been building a following, and one of our best friends, Sharon Srivatsa, says the most efficient business model is fame. And I want to share with you one other different way that you can build a passive income stream is through affiliates. What is an affiliate? Affiliate is whenever you have someone else who's built a product that's amazing that you're having success using personally, and you share it with other people and you get paid a small commission as a result of that. Now you're like, well, Russ, is that really a thing? Well, I'll just say up to this point, we've made about $50,000 this year in the first 5 months. So averaging close to $10,000 a month. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good thing, right? I have friends who make millions of dollars a year using affiliate relationships. The reason we started publishing our passive income report is because we met John Lee Dumas of Entrepreneurs on Fire and Pat Flynn, Smart Passive Income, at an event, and they were sharing with us what they were doing. They were like, hey, we built this brand. We built our whole business model of just talking about the things that we were doing personally and things that we were interested and excited in. And then we started getting these little small commissions from it. And I was like, isn't that fascinating? They're like, and we just started sharing our report with the world. And I thought, Joey, you and I need to do that. We need to start doing those things. Well, what starts happening? You start going to the world. People get interested in what you're interested in. And as an I, you're able to influence. You're a communicator. Those are the things that maybe you have giftings in. Well, how can you invest in that? Well, one, you can invest in how you communicate better. You can create better outlets, podcasts, YouTube. You can create a media team, right? Some people have spent lots of money building a brand, and that brand then allows them to go out and create affiliate relationships. You can buy websites. Like my business partner, I think he bought a website that makes most of his money off affiliate revenue. There's so many different ideas that this affiliate relationship can have. And you can be an influencer on social media that's doing it. You can own websites that are doing it. Fame is the most efficient business model. And as an I think that's one of those interesting ways that maybe you want to invest in that technology. Moving on, let's talk about point number 2. What is the thing that's going to trip us up along the way? Stallion, what would be a thing that would trip you up? I know you mentioned short-term rentals. Maybe you want to focus on that as well.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and tell you the short-term rental business is not something that an I is going to want to take on 100% themselves, right? They're going to need to have somebody who's really focused on the systems aspect of it. Think for a minute that you have 10 different units all around town. You have to have those units cleaned. You have to have them have all the remote controls in the right place with the little house rules that explain exactly what you expect from that guest who's going to come into your unit. You're going to have to make sure that the accounting is set up so that it's properly accounting for each unit and the expenses they're in and all that. When you're running a business, there are details that have to go into running that. Not to mention, I think an I could easily get tripped up if they were the ones that were constantly having to be the communicator with their guests. And so if there's a management company that they could hire that could come in and run it for them, they're going to feel tremendous success in that versus if they're getting questions like, hey, where are the towels? And you're like, the one that's hanging up in the bathroom. Like, if you're getting dumb questions, an I is going to be like, what am I doing here? They're going to be questioning their life at that point.
Sally, I think as an I, as you're talking about short-term rentals, I think it's the dumb questions maybe. I don't think that I would care about the dumb questions as much as I don't even think I would just be frustrated that I have not built the system that you talk about.
Right.
Like, I think you see those mistakes after the fact and you're like, crap, man, I should have had a process that made this automated But
Yeah.
typically we don't think that way, right? Like we just like to reinvent it over and over again. And I think to your point, that's why operations is so important. For an I, if you read the book, The E-Myth, you find out immediately that you need to build systems that will automate processes to keep you out of having to do all those day-to-day examples. And you have to partner typically with someone to do it. You are great at sharing it, but you're pretty poor typically at actually following through on the details.
The other thing I'll mention, Russ, I think is a potential pitfall is an I is very driven by how things look. And I think in the short-term rental space, it's very easy to run away with either overbuilding a property out, over decorating or accessorizing, or like, oh man, this would be so cool if we added this like crazy pool in the back. And you're like, wait a minute, that just blows the budget for this project because I overdid it on the way it looked. So I think that's just a potential pitfall to consider as you're thinking about short-term rentals.
100%. I remember you and I were interviewing somebody that was in the short-term rental space who was not an I, who was outfitting every one of his properties for like $5, it seemed like. And he was like profitable in the first 6 months. Like he had paid back all of his budget in the first 6 months, and he was making the same income that we were per unit. The difference was we had spent like $15,000 or $30,000, depending on the size of the unit, to outfit it with all of this. We wanted it to look good. And he was like, I wanted to make money. And we're like, we do too, but we want it to look good. And I made that same mistake in the Turo space, right? Going out and buying the newest and nicest of cars, right? But that's not the way to make money in some of these things. You have to have that governor on the difference between what makes money and what looks good. What looks good is making money, and you have to remember that part. Amy, how about for you? What's something that could trip an eye up, and maybe you want to focus on the land flipping place again?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm reading right off my investor report, my investor style here, and it says, eyes don't like to manage the details and are not particularly self-disciplined, right? Well, I don't know how much you know about the land business, but it takes a while to build the land business before you can hand off responsibilities in land business. And there's a lot of details, right? I can't tell you how many counties are in the United States, but how do I choose which county I want to start focusing on? How do I write the perfect marketing piece? How do I follow up and maintain follow-up? How do I learn even the systems of how to do this? How do I prep and have the consistency to build this business? On top of that, I typically don't like confrontation. We are people. We want to make everyone happy. We want to be the life of the party. We want to be appreciated and valued. How are these people going to react when I'm sending them letters for 25 cents on the dollar for what their property is worth, or whatever that is? And I start getting those angry phone calls, or, even worse, those letters back with, some harsh words to my offer. I mean, that's going to sit poorly with me just as an I. It's not going to feel good. It's not going to be an enjoyable part of the process. Plus, add in that shiny object syndrome of just getting distracted. What's the next best thing? When am I gonna pivot too early and go try and do something totally different? Like you said, reinvent the wheel over and over and over again. And so I understand this because when I was starting off in single family, right? Joey's already talked about how that's not a great fit for I. We won't go down that road, but I did all the things. I was trying to do direct to mailers to, land or to property owners, yellow letters, handwriting letters, sending them out. And what I learned is there's been a couple marketing strategies that I did that I got a lot of leads from, but I did not have the systems or the self-discipline, sometimes being totally honest, to keep following up and keep up on those leads. And that is, land business is a marketing business. You have to market to buy properties, and then you have to market to sell properties, right? And that's just something that I know is going to be a pitfall in myself, that I need someone else that is going to run that part of the business. And I know that because I've been there, I've done it, I've tried it, maybe in a different space, but I know that that's going to be a struggle for me. And so that's a big pitfall for me taking the leap to get into land, is that if I'm going to make that leap, I need to know that the consistent action that's going to need to be taken is going to be taken. And I know that that's probably not going to be me to do it.
Tribe, listen up. We're entering into the election year. This is the time where people are going to get super fearful. We're going to see businesses start to dry up. We're going to see opportunities, though, pile up for us only if we're prepared.
That's right. You get to choose right now. Will you allow this time frame to negatively affect you and your business and your investments? Or will you be prepared to take advantage of these huge opportunities that come on the backside of this because you're prepared with cash?
Let's get our house in order. If you haven't already maximized the infinite banking concept in your life, here's the chance for you to start learning. Go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/IBC. Take our free webinar so that you can start getting equipped with the things that you need to know so that you can take action on this looming event.
As eyes, one of the things that really can trip us up is that we tend to be all or nothing, right? We're all in or all out, and we flip that switch just like a light switch at the door. And we get so excited, we jump in so quick without looking, right? Like it's the concept of jumping off the diving board and then figuring out while you're in the air how much water's in the pool. I think that that's a problem, right? We don't know what we're getting into sometimes ahead of time. We jump so quickly. So no matter what you're getting into, if you're getting into affiliate marketing business, you need to understand the back end of things before you jump, because you can make mistakes, and mistakes are really costly. Not only does it cost us in the having to go back and pay someone to fix them, going back and fixing the relationships, which is something that's really important to us, but also when we don't have success, oftentimes we turn the light switch off. We have that remorse. And that remorse can cost us deeply. So one of the things I would say is that we want to avoid the quickness that happens. Use the quickness and excitement to move and start going toward things and drawing people close to you, but do it in a calculated way where you can find out how you have these things. Because if you don't get quick results, oftentimes what happens with us as investors is we assume it's not going to work, and we bounce, we pivot. And we need to understand the business a little bit more thorough before we make those quick decisions, because constantly changing can continue to get us no closer to where we want to be. I think Ernie on our team once said that just going fast, but in the wrong direction actually can prove, detrimental, because now you're going even further away from your objective at a faster pace. All right, let's talk about ways that we can win, because I think it's important as we share examples of clients and other people who have been doing this process to share kind of how eyes are having success in some of these areas. Joey, would you like to take over that?
Happy to do it. So I'll just use our example in the short-term rental business. Russ and I learned about this idea, and we thought it was a good idea. I'll be honest, because I'm an SI, I was less interested in implementing it, because I was like, no, I don't want to get into all the, conflict of somebody getting upset because there wasn't enough soap in the dish, and hey, well, this is a dirty countertop or what have you. And I didn't want to fool with all the systems and all the details. And so I just didn't think it was something that we would want to do. But Russ, being an eye and a half, he more than made up for my lack of eye. And he said, you know what, we're going to do this. And he even convinced me to use my long-term rental condo that was making no money to be the guinea pig. Hey, what's the worst that could happen, Joe? We get in there, we find out it doesn't work, and, we have some furniture, we sell it off, and you sell the property or you go back to long-term rental. What's the worst that could happen, right? Well, a lot worse could have happened, to be honest. But
no, it couldn't have, man. It was fine.
No, but I took the plunge, and I'll tell you, the reason that we did it, though, is we know ourselves well enough to know that we had to solve the operator. Had we not figured out somebody who could come in and manage the short-term rentals and do the operational duties on the day-to-day basis, because we also know our resources for those areas were scarce. We didn't have a lot of time to be running around and setting up new dwelling or new units and getting people like cleaners set up and all the business side of it. But man, when we realized that we're in that I quadrant. We love to do this sort of business, but we have to solve the operations. We found the operator, and what happened? We went from 1 unit in July of 2020 to over 20. Did we have 26, 27 units at the peak of our business before we sold it? That's in a 2-year span of time. So the point is saying is this is a great vertical to be in. It produced well over a couple $100,000 a year in income to us while we ran it. And now it's producing an owner finance note on the back end of selling this property or these properties. It's an amazing business to be in. If you're an I, you just have to solve for some of the details.
Well, the detail that we solved for was that we made it a business. I think that therein lies the opportunity for eyes in the short-term rental space, is that you take it from a hobby, right? You doing it, a solo thing. You move out of that S quadrant, as Robert Kiyosaki talks about the cash flow quadrants, the 4 cash flow quadrants of E, S, B, and I. You move from the S, the solo, the self-employed, and you move it into a B-based business where it's operating without you. And that's what you get excited about as an I, is that you can talk about it, you can grow it, but yet you're not responsible for all the day-to-day. I think there lies the opportunity in anything that you do, is that how can you influence at a big scale? So just continue to use that dreaming capability, that creativity you have as an I. Dream big, go big, find ways to have the success through operations. Jamie, how about for you? Tell me about maybe a success story you've seen.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to hopefully not be too repetitive. Understanding us as eyes, I think a lot of the same themes are going to come up. But, we've talked a lot about just who the eye is, and we want to have influence. We want to, we're people. We want to be around people. We want to please. We want to be happy. We want to be the life of the party, right? And so I've actually learned that doing things with other people is a lot of fun. I used to think that I could go do everything myself, and I just needed to go do it myself. We talked about that a little bit, being overly optimistic that I could handle everything. What I learned is it just added so much more burden and stress in my life. And so thinking about how to build potentially a land business in the future is I want to find others to do it with, right? It doesn't have to be 100% Jamie's little land business. Could it be a collaboration among people who have fits different roles? And if I am going to have a key role, where is my proper fit, right? So either finding an operator, finding a partner that can be the main marketer, could be the main contact with sales. Put me on the phone when it's time to sell the property. I love having those conversations, right? Or just let me have that high level oversight that you talked about. So I think really the key for me, as you mentioned earlier, is I need to find the who. Who can help me make a successful business rather than try to just handle everything myself and go start this from the ground up by myself? Because I'm going to think I can do it for a little bit of time until I decide I can't. I just automatically check out. And I know how successful that business could be. So it's been great to kind of get the investor DNA, be around you guys and others to understand this, because it's totally changed my outlook of how I need to be thinking about investments. And, the old saying goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. Typically, eyes want to go really fast, right? But if you want to go far, go together. And it's a lot of fun to do things together, make an impact on other people's lives, and have that social connection as well as an eye.
Well, you talked about ways to win for land flippers. Like Joey and I have seen at this point several hundred people inside the land geek community doing land flipping as a business, running it as a business. Most of them very high eyes because they're people. Right. I guess that's the way to say that, is that they love people and they love influencing the outcomes, and they're really good. They're gritty, right? They just good with people and just have grit. And we've seen them they've seen hundreds of people who are making more than $10,000 a month coming in from their land investing business. Joey and I, we're a little over $30,000 a month right now in gross income from our land flipping business. High eyes really enjoy that specific thing just because they have the ability to influence outcome. We have this investor DNA report, and it allows us to kind of see some of the most successful people, maybe the celebrities that you may know, famous investors who are eyes. One of my favorite shows I love to watch is Shark Tank. And on Shark Tank, there's actually two high I's that are on Shark Tank, Mark Cuban and Lori Greiner. Both of them successful investors as I's. Well, I love the queen of QVC because what is she doing? She's finding a way to sell a product, right? She's using that influence. We're talking about affiliates earlier, and affiliates are just somebody who's selling someone else's product. Well, that's what Lori's been doing on QVC forever, right? Like she's partnering with people who've had and built great products, but maybe not have conquered the ability to sell them at the highest level. And she's used her influence, her connection, her resources in order to create massive amounts of income, massive amounts of wealth. For me, I love the idea of how you do that. How do you take someone else's product and be able to have that sort of success? So that's why I keep coming back as one of the examples here of how to build income for yourself, maybe through an affiliate type position. Because typically as an I, we tend to be salespeople. And that's just natural for us. So it fits within our comfort zone and allows us to use the skill set at our highest level. Well, I hope you enjoyed another specific episode as we broke down how do you invest within your own investor DNA. And for this one, it was an I. If you're listening to this and you're a D, go back and listen to that, or S or the C's. We all have our own unique way that we see the world, but this helps us not get tripped up and have massive success. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Joey, for jumping in. Thank you for listening. Have an amazing day.
This has been the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show to break free of the Wall Street mindset and begin building wealth on your own terms in places you understand so that your wealth will never run dry. See you next episode.